Hi, my name is Mehdi, this is Anass, and we're the co-founders of eyewa.
At eyewa, we're building the largest tech-enabled, vertically integrated eyewear specialist in the Middle East. So Mehdi and myself, we started working together 7 years ago. We actually met at Bain & Company, where the two of us were strategy consultants. And from there, we moved to Rocket Internet. And again, we worked there together, where we were the co-managing directors of Foodpanda in the Middle East. And then when Foodpanda got acquired by Delivery Hero, we decided to start something of our own.
So before even launching eyewa, and although we have been working together for so many years, Anass and I spent the first weeks just thinking of how to build a company together and what our relationship will be. So we sat down and thought of all the bad things that can happen throughout the journey, and already thought of the solution for it. We put that down on a paper. We have a shareholder agreement that was signed before we even launched the company. And that just puts away, all of the issues we could be facing in the future. We already have a solution for them written. And we can focus 100% of our relationship in building a successful business together.
So we wanted to define all of the solutions and how we were going to solve the problems while the stakes were still low, while the company was still not yet launched. So it's easier to discuss these problems when there is no value attached to it.
So as Anass mentioned, we have a very similar background. We've been working together at Bain and then at Foodpanda. So we didn't want to focus on a specific topic. We believed that we had the same experience and the same learning, and so we both wanted to be involved in all aspects of the business. For that reason, we decided to be co-CEOs. The way we handle our relationship is obviously through a lot of communication. We have strategy sessions every Monday evening where we just realign and make sure we're 100% aligned on the vision of the company. And what we do is we sit on a monthly basis, look at the priorities for the month, and assign responsibilities to each other to make sure that the execution is as fast and efficient as possible.
While doing that, we also make sure that the other co-founder is always in the loop. The intention is that you stay aware of everything that is happening at the company and that you can cover for the other in the absence of that other person. That also ensures that there is alignment across the company, across the organization, across the different departments, because each one of Mehdi and myself is going to be focusing on an area, but we know what's happening elsewhere, and we ensure that what we're doing is aligned with that. So initially, we were all sitting in a small room, like we're a small team. Like for the first year, we were more or less 10 people. So we were constantly communicating, constantly meeting together. We were having lunch and sometimes dinner together as a team. And not only between Mehdi and myself, but with the rest of the team, it was a lot easier to communicate and to be on the same page at all times. But as the company started to grow and we started having bigger and bigger offices and sometimes working in different countries, we needed to make sure that we have a good way to stay aligned and to make sure that we are still working on the same priorities. And the way we do that is that initially we were doing this monthly recurring meeting where we align on the big topics and make sure that everybody is going to be following, each one of us is going to be following up with those topics. But then over time, we moved from doing it on a monthly basis to doing it on a quarterly basis. So the idea was that we didn't want to change the priorities for each one of us too frequently as the complexity of the company was increasing.
Anass and I have a very similar cultural background. We have a similar working experience, but we know that this is not the case for every entrepreneur. That being said, we believe that when you decide to start a business with another co-founder, it's very important from day one to align on your cultural principles. So Anass and I sat together and said, what kind of company do you want to build? What are the values that this company is going to be built around? And we spent a lot of time thinking about it and codifying it. And those values are with us till today, and they're implemented throughout the entire organization.
The idea is that from the beginning you have to align on the way of working. What are the principles that you're going to use every day to solve problems? You don't want to be doing that when you're facing the problem. You want to be aligned on what are the values, what matters, what doesn't matter ahead of the problem. So when the problem comes, you already know how you should address it. And it makes solving the problem a lot easier. A lot of people are confused when they see co-CEOs. Like, this is something that is relatively new, be it in the region or also globally. That being said, you just have to explain to others how it's working, the reason why it's working, and the advantages of it. So like, this is something that you have to be prepared to answer whenever you're dealing with third parties, is explaining who is in charge of what and how they should manage a relationship with you.
So having two co-CEOs, especially if you have different personalities or backgrounds, we find this to be very powerful in decision making. So, as long as you have your working principle in place with your co-founder, you're able to have very deep strategic conversations. And if you have a disagreement, you can reach a level of honesty with each other where you can work together to find the best possible answer and make the decision that will have the best impact on your business success.
And the reality is that we all have blind spots. So when you're working with somebody and you trust him, like, you just reduce the blind spots that you have, and it allows you to have a better perspective on what's happening in your business. So our advice for all co-founders out there, like, to make it successful, you have to do three things. First, you have to discuss all the worst case scenarios and write down the rights of each person, and do that very early in the relationship when the stakes are low. Second, you have to align on the cultures and principles and the work principles that you're going to build the company around. What matters to you, what are the values that you care about, and how you're going to deal with problems. And third, you have to keep an open communication between all co-founders at all times. You have to stay aligned, and you have to make sure that you're aligned with frequent checkpoints.